Well, Jonathan, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
My name is John Paris. I'm the chair of the Asian American Group's Election Endorsement Committee. We appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to be with us this morning. For those watching at home or at a later date, this is Jonathan Friedrich. He is the Libertarian candidate in State Senate District 3, which actually encompasses where we're at right now, in the vicinity of Charleston and Valley View. Jonathan, since we've interviewed with you more than once, or you've interviewed with us, I should say, more than once, we will skip our normal introduction as to who the Asian American Group is and simply get right into speaking with you so the voters can get to know you a little bit better. Please tell us why you've decided to run for this particular race at this particular time.
It all has to do with protecting the people of not only Senate 3, but the state. There are approximately 2.5 or 3 million people in this state. I have been a former commissioner appointed by Governor Sandoval to the Common Interest Community Commission. I have seen firsthand the abuses that residents living in these homeowner associations have been subjected to in many different forms. I have partaken in the smart meter issue where NV Energy tried to ram down these smart meters onto the entire public, everyone in this state. There is expert testimony stating that they cause cancer, they cause fires. I'm actually waiting now for some documentation from the Clark County Fire Department, and I'll also solicit the same from the City of Las Vegas Fire Department, indicating when and where these fires have taken place due to these smart meters. Then there is the horrific issue dealing with the guardianship program. Most people have no idea what this entails. If an individual becomes incapacitated and they don't have anybody close by, or a spouse or relative, the court appoints a guardian. These guardians go in and they, for lack of a better descriptive word, loot the individual's assets, taking everything away from them, including their homes, their life savings, even their Social Security card. And at a certain point in time, when there are no more assets left, they're turned over to the state to become a ward of the state. They have lost everything. The most infamous case is a woman by the name of April Parks. I don't know if you've seen it in the news or not, but she has actually fled to Pennsylvania. What this woman has done to her, quote, wards, unquote, is nothing less than vicious. Last session, I worked with Ronna Goodman and another group to revise the statutes. Prior to last session, if you had a relative living out of state, that relative could not be your guardian. The law has now been changed, thanks to Ronna and the Vegas Voice, which is a monthly newspaper. I testified on that bill. There's a lot more work that has to be done. The amount of corruption that goes on in homeowner associations, theft of money. We're not talking about the bully boards. We're talking about crooked board members or management companies who go in and steal. I'm sure you've all heard about the federal case dealing with, I think it was 11 condominium associations where attorney Nancy Kwan supposedly committed suicide. She orchestrated this whole scenario, and a general contractor by the name of Leo Benza, who stole millions, leaving the homeowners with defective condominium projects, even after the insurance companies had Then there is the commerce and margins tax. Who do you think is ultimately going to be paying the freight for that? Us, the consumers, the end users. In addition to these taxes, which I understand vary from industry to industry, there is endless paperwork that has to be filled out and submitted to the state, I think, on a quarterly basis. Most businesses are gonna have to have their accountants do it. Now, the businesses have to have the accountants be paid for it. Electric rates. Our good friend Warren Buffett bought NV Energy. Mr. Buffett doesn't buy losing companies. He only buys companies that make lots of money for his investors. When the Reed Gardner plant is going to be decommissioned, NV Energy expects us, the ratepayers, to pay the additional fees for electric rates. I want to see the monopoly ended by the power company and have competition. Currently, there's another company called Valley Electric. They're a co-op. They are selling to a number of the federal facilities in this state. Why can't they sell to us? Why can't we make NV Energy be more competitive? I mean, I could go on and on and on. There's the PUC, Public Utilities Commission.
Well, Jonathan, I know you're very passionate about many of these subjects. Assuming you are elected to the legislature, at the end of the following session, what do you want to be remembered for the most? What if, quote unquote, in a perfect world, what would be your single greatest accomplishment, assuming you are or become one of our state senators?
Protecting our citizens. And that can encompass a huge area. I will say this, that I am very proud. After the last legislative session, I had introduced 4 bills dealing with homeowner association abuses. 2 of those bills died, and 2 of those bills were signed into law by the governor. Senator Scott Hammond carried one, SB Senate Bill 174, and Assemblywoman Vicki Dooley, who unfortunately lost her husband about 2 or 3 days before the end of the session and decided not to run again. She was very brave. She carried a bill, AB 238. That bill, again, protects homeowners from some of the financial abuses that go on in these associations. That's protecting people.
Jonathan, you do have a good amount of experience in drafting bills and testifying in front of the legislature. From your viewpoint, what do you see as the biggest inefficiency in our state legislature? And assuming you're elected, what are you going to do to try and remedy that?
Do you want the sugar-coated answer, or do you want the truth?
Truth.
It's an organization that really is run by the leadership, and they're going to do what they damn well please.
You mean both on the House side and the Senate side, both on the same thing?
I'm sorry, you got to speak
It's
loud.
on the Senate, also on the House
Both.
side? Both.
Both.
Are they mostly Republicans or Dems? Or both?
Both. Now, most of the work, the legislature goes for 120 days.
Mhm.
Most of the important bills get passed the last couple of days. I was privy 2 sessions ago when Senator Robeson killed a bill of Senator Allison Copeland, who she could not get through the entire session. Robeson called it the most toxic bill in the legislature. She, along with Valerie Weiner, tried to slip that bill into another bill. He caught it. And and I still have his impassioned speech about the evils of this bill. And this was at about 12:20 a.m., just before Sendai. And then Senator Copeland got up and she tried to save that bill. She was near hysterical. This was her flagship bill. I think it was SB 175, if I remember correctly. It died, thank goodness. I am one of the most hated people up there by the HOA lobby. They have fought me. Why? Because I'm trying to protect those people that live in homeowner associations. There's approximately 1.3 million people. I exposed gross corruption on the Common Interest Community Commission, which led the Deputy Attorney General to issue a decision, an opinion, that the commission prior to me being appointed had exceeded their authority. They did something under the leadership of then Commissioner Michael Buckley, who's an attorney, that was against the law. There was a hearing to repeal that advisory opinion. That particular day, there were 3 deputy attorney generals sitting in the room, and there were only 6 commissioners there. The vote was to repeal that advisory opinion. The vote was 3 to repeal, 3 not to repeal. The motion failed. The very next day, those 3 commissioners that voted not to repeal were gone. What does that say? Now, the case has worked its way through the state Supreme Court. It's been in the federal 9th Circuit. And John, you're probably aware of this. On August 15th, the 9th Circuit said what the legislature had done prior to 2015 was unconstitutional. This is far, far from over. I see this case going all the way up to the United States Supreme Court. There are hundreds of millions of dollars involved in it. The banks want their money back. These associations illegally foreclosed and extinguished mortgages. If you were a bank and I was a lender and I didn't pay my association assessments and somebody else came along, foreclosed and extinguished your mortgage, would you want to lend to anybody else in this state? I wouldn't. So it's a huge issue. Wells Fargo was the one who got the 9th Circuit to reverse, and it's still being slugged out. So it's far from over.
Well, Jonathan,
I do have a comment
please.
on that.
Yeah, because you are.
before I transition, go ahead.
About 3 years ago, probably 3 to 4 years ago, we went to auction and literally purchased some these HOA auction sales.
Mm-hmm.
And these properties was literally run down like a ghost home, okay, in a nice setting communities. The banks don't care. They let, the houses are really raggy condition. There are, what you call squatters comes in, AC, front yards, all just really, really crappy. Now, I believe that is part of the bank's fault, because they let a property that really deteriorated become like a ghost home. Now, somebody that comes in and pick it up and buy it, whatever the case may be, that go in and rehab the property that is livable. Because a lot of them, when the banks taken back, from the, let's say they go on to sue the homeowner or what have you, they didn't care. They just let the property run down. And the homeowner usually, I've seen majority of it, they trash the house. They damage the property. You got every wall that got knocked down. You got carpet as filthy as it can be. Now, somebody got to go and clean it up. Okay. The banks are being very, very irresponsible. They should have, if in any case they taken back the property, they should have paid HOA, which that HOA are the one that maintaining the yard and what have you, right? That's the minimum. But no, the bank will not pay for it. They keep on selling it to another party. They package it up and sell to someone else. We have properties that you have no idea who belong to.
That was the
they
big
change
problem.
hand, right? So, yes, the banks took the money from the federal and they just let it sit. It sat there year after year after year. Okay. In the meantime, the neighborhood gets really run down. I mean, you got a ghost house right in the middle of a fine community. What would that be?
Alright,
So
let me
the banks
respond to
are
that.
responsible for it because they got the money already from federal government. It's like they don't have to pay back. They just don't have to.
I don't remember whether it was 4 years ago or 6 years ago, but a statute was put into law which allowed the association to go in, clean up, and maintain the exterior of the home. That money could then be added to the cost that the association, I don't want to say suffered, had to expend. Now, it was up to the association. Do we want to go in and maintain this property? Now, up in the north, that included snow removal. I don't think we've got too much snow down here. But the association could prevent the exterior. They couldn't do anything on the inside, just the exterior, and they could maintain it. Now, with the geniuses who came up with the idea of bundling all these mortgages together and selling them to this group, and then they sold it to somebody else, nobody knew who owned what anymore.
Correct.
It was like a bowl of spaghetti.
Correct.
So, that's why, to resolve the immediate issue of the exterior, the legislature passed this bill that would allow them to maintain the exterior. And it can be, this was never in dispute, could be added, the cost of maintaining the exterior could be added to the costs at time of non-judicial foreclosure.
Ultimately, yes, the homeowner association, some of them are at fault, but majority of it are the banks. They just don't give a damn. And now, after the property values start climbing back up, they fight you to the nail. Now, in the meantime, we got property that's in the litigation for clean title after spending tens of thousands of dollars, rehab the property, right? And the attorney fee, because they just go in circle after circle after circle. That's what they do.
They
So,
love it.
That's the bank. So yes, absolutely, you know.
Well,
that's
after
the
there was a
situation.
decision, I think it was the SFR, Southern Highlands case, where the Supreme Court said that they could extinguish the mortgage. All of a sudden, and I got this from one of the collectors, Michael Randolph, he said the phone didn't stop ringing. The banks wanted to know how much is due on the association's assessments. Now, you also have to remember that all the association can ever get is the 9 times the monthly assessment. So let's say there's say it's $100 a month. There's a year of unpaid assessments. All the association can get is $900. That's it, it's capped. That's state law.
Correct.
It used to be 600. Then it was raised by Assemblywoman Spiegel. She had tried to get 24 months, and they compromised. So the collection companies were the big beneficiaries. They raked in the thousands of dollars. The associations got the crumbs.
In this case, all the bank should be responsible and just pay the association fees, which that they're entitled to. Because unfortunately, we have the market crash. The property value went to nothing. And they got a high mortgage amount in there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, people got showing up the stick. The buyer of the associate, the company like ours that purchased it got showing up the stick because it's dragged on and on. The bank got their money from the federal government to bail them out.
Well, actually, they got the money when they
Already.
sold the mortgage.
That's the problem. They got the money for nothing, right?
It starts up at the federal,
And they
and
just
it
put
trickled
in the
all the way
book
down.
to look good. But in the meantime, all the property just sit there and, and just deteriorate, and they do nothing.
But as I said previously, the association had a remedy. They didn't take it. There's enough fault to go around for everybody. Now, my whole philosophy is that these homeowner associations
Agreed.
are evil, for the most part.
Agreed.
What was wrong with the old tried and true public street, private house, no assessments? Now, you have here in the city of Las Vegas and in the county, you have code enforcement. Your neighbor, let's say you're living not in an association, but the neighbor is letting the house deteriorate. You call up code enforcement, and boy, they'll be down there usually within 24 hours. Now, in the community I live in, there were a number of swimming pools that had turned green. I am a West Nile fever survivor. That mosquito almost killed me in 2004. Why? Because some neighbor had a green pool. Code enforcement was down there the next day. They put some kind of chemical over the top of the water, kills the mosquito larvae, and I think it's good for about 30 days. And if it's not taken care of, they will step in. They'll put a lien on the property for cleaning it up. So there is alternative methods to deal with some of these problems. You're not going to have a perfect solution. It's not a perfect world. We can nibble at it and try to make it better, but we're never going to get it all right.
Agreed. But banks are like any other business.
They're greedy.
You have fault, you take the fault. They could do much better job, but they rather, and they did not take any action. I'm talking about all banks.
Well, they didn't for years, and then all of a sudden when this SFR case came along, boy, oh boy, did they ever jump to. Because they realized, whoa, the party's over. Now, SFR and I think it's US Bank is now in federal court slugging it out. The big winners in this whole fiasco are the attorneys.
Absolutely.
They're gonna be litigating this for years. We had, I'm sure
But
you're
most of
aware.
them are crooked.
I
Say
wouldn't
it
say
like it
crooked,
is.
I would say greedy.
Well, yeah, that makes them crooked.
Well, while we can delve into a philosophical debate as to where we cross the line between greed and corruption, did you have a specific question for Jonathan? Or did you guys just wanna talk about how you hate banks and HOAs?
We'll close at that.
I'm sorry?
It's a continuous
Ongoing
subject,
conversation.
yeah. So,
I'd like to be able to continue that as Senator Friedrich.
so you made a vow to, oh, by the way, if you become Senate here, we are having a bill that is sitting at the state capitol of the Asian Culture Day right behind you on November 12th. And that will need to pass the law by February.
Well, February.
Would you support it?
Why not?
Good, thank you.
Last session, I was up there as a non-paid lobbyist, and Assemblyman Lynn Stewart, very nice gentleman who unfortunately has said, I've had enough. He was, I think, a history teacher. He introduced a bill that would prohibit one of these beloved associations from fining a resident, or a unit's owner as they're known as, for flying the Nevada state flag on Flag Day, or on Nevada Day. I was there, I gladly testified to it. It sailed through both houses
Prohibit?
for a flag.
For putting up the flag on the July
Are
4th.
you kidding me?
No, sir.
Homeowners,
That's why America has got heavy duty issues. They forgot where they were from. They forget how their ancestors
Struggle to
That-
get here.
that made this country great. What's wrong with them?
I finally figured out where all the old Nazis emigrated to. It's a very sad commentary. When these people, who are board members, suddenly get the authority and power over others, they go wild. Let's shift a little bit to the Public Utilities Commission. There are 3 commissioners for the entire state that are telling all of us how much it's gonna cost us for our electricity, or that we have to have a smart meter on our homes. There's too much power, and there's not enough accountability of any of these bureaucrats. 3 years ago, Assemblywoman Michelle Fiore, at our urging, it's the Nevada Homeowners Alliance, asked for a bill to protect homeowners. We got a mishmash of a bill, and it passed. And theoretically, it protects the management side and the board, and it protects the homeowners. And violation of this is a misdemeanor. I have met with our friends at Metro. They didn't even know this bill existed. I brought this book today. Chinese lady bought a house in a community called Shaylin, I think it was. Her name is Mei Li. She was going to retire out here. She and her sister bought freestanding homes. She made, actually no, that's incorrect. She had sent a check to the management company. It got lost. She didn't know it. Well, it wasn't long before the management company started charging her late fees. And it was a minimal amount of money. Well, it got to the point where they had turned her over to collections and they were trying to foreclose on her house. Instead of somebody picking up the phone and saying, May, you haven't paid. Where's your check? No, they didn't do it. They let it continue and continue on. She got to me through another source, and I went to bat for her. I'm not an attorney, but I know when I can see corruption, I can see evil. This entire book, filled with documents that I had to deal with to straighten that mess out. Oh, she also had another terrible, terrible violation. She had a couple of weeds on the side of her yard in the gravel. Is this a reason to take somebody's home away?
You mean the association,
Was going to foreclose on her.
they don't send notices to the house?
She had a
Notices to the door?
management company here who I believe was not doing their job. The HOA management company should have sent it to her. She's the owner of record.
So the management company, which should be liable at the real estate board, correct?
Her management company.
Right.
Unfortunately, she's sitting in another part of the country. I spoke to her a couple of weeks ago, and she was diagnosed with breast cancer. It's just a horror story, but in the end, I finally got it resolved. Now, I was here last Sunday. One of our latest victims is Judy Chang. The HOA is coming after her with a vengeance. She called me up. I don't know how she got my number, but
What? She is so prompt. She's a real
it had
prompt
nothing to do.
person.
She owns 2 manufactured homes. Her brother bought one, and he's got a tenant in there. Their HOA CC&Rs say he has to live in one, and he's only living there part-time. I went into my favorite nighttime reading, NRS 116, and I remembered there was a statute dealing with renting. And I met with her twice. I gave her a copy of the statute, and I told her what to write to the management company. They have no authority to do what they are claiming. They changed their CC&Rs, but NRS 116-1206, I think it is, says that that statute supersedes whatever the CC&Rs say. So, she said she was gonna be here today. I don't know what happened to her, but hopefully, I'm sure I will hear from her. And hopefully this letter will shut these SOBs up.
Well,
Thank you.
Did I chew your ears off enough?
No, I think that you and Kevin, potentially off the air, after the recording ends, have a lot of things to talk about. You seem to be kindred spirits in many respects. But we are right at our time frame.
But it's been so much fun.
It has, and it's always educational. You're very passionate about HOA and
It's not
utilities.
passion, it's survival. And there's 1.2, 1.3 million people living in these associations in this state. They have nobody to turn to. Supposedly, they have the office of the ombudsman, and they're totally useless. Totally. The only thing that they will get involved in if there is theft of money. No accountability. These people are being paid, and you know who's paying these people? The homeowners. The homeowners pay, it used to be $3 per door per year. Now it's $4.25. And for years, I tried to get the legislature to raise it to a whopping $5 a year. And what did my friendly Republicans say up there? Oh, that's a tax, we can't do that. I said, no, it's a fee. So what do the Republicans do? They pass the largest state tax in the history of the state. Was it 1 point something billion with the margins and commerce tax? It's bizarre. The state, the government has one overriding obligation, and that's to protect its citizens.
And if elected, we are confident that you will,
I will
Take
go
up that
charging
fight.
up there on my white horse.
thank you, Jonathan, we appreciate it.
My pleasure. I do have a present for